Well, welcome back to your journey to joyful living. Now I have the pleasure of hosting Nimrod Avraham May, a visionary leader with over 2 decades of experience in media, startups, and venture capital. His personal journey led him to create the animated series God's Gang, which is amazing, you guys, and promotes unity and peace among diverse cultures and religion. And don't we need that in these times? We do. And I'm all about unity and love. So he's the perfect guest for your journey to joyful living. But beyond his professional achievements, Nimrod is a passionate advocate for mental well-being, focusing on helping individuals overcome overthinking to achieve a liberated soul. So here we have Nimrod. Hi.
Hi, it's great to be here, Grace. I'm very excited. Thank you for
I,
having me.
Oh, you are so welcome. It's great to have you here. I saw one of your videos and I was like, I got to have him on the Streamathon. So thank you for doing this. I appreciate it. I'm thrilled to have you here today. And we're going to just get into the art of silencing the mind and embracing true freedom. And I think in our paced world, many find themselves like trapped in cycles of overthinking. We're all doing that because we're stressed out and we feel trapped. And from your extensive experience and personal journey, how do you define the concept of freeing the soul from the chains of overthinking?
Well, it's I found it in a very simple and free exercise and practices, but basically they're very hard to apply on our day-to-day lives, and that's basically enabled through brain work, breath work.
And brain work
In
too, right?
No, the brain sometimes can put us, in different situations, which actually doesn't help us relax and free our thinking, or the monkey, as you can call it, whatever you want. It's it's some kind of a processor that keeps on shooting its thoughts into our front lobe, and I needed to let go. That's why I basically searched for ways and practices that will enable me to achieve things that might sound a bit weird, like higher states of consciousness, of
Yeah.
existence.
Yeah.
And I found it through very easy practices like breath work, meditation,
Hmm.
also by applying some things in my day-to-day life which might look like something very weird to others, but for me they're now a part of my day-to-day, and that's connecting to nature.
Yes.
And it's out there. You open the door, and nature is here, especially if we don't live inside a center of town. But even in the center of town you can find these parks, and all you need to do is like take 10-15 minutes out of your day, take off your shoes. I know it sounds a bit not very clean to one, but ground, close
Yes.
the circle of the electricity that we produce with the electricity of our planet,
Yes.
and and find a tree and hug it.
Oh my God. Okay.
And
We're like twins because I go hike with a very skeptic friend of mine. And I'm like, let's hug a tree. And you get their electromagnetic energy because we are electromagnetic beings. And so hugging the tree, and I feel renewed, and I talk to the tree and I hug the tree. And then another thing that I do is I go to the beach and I take my shoes off and I plant my feet on the sand to get that electromagnetic energy from the earth. So grounding is literally grounding yourself when you do those
yes.
things. So I think that's fantastic. And what are common signs do you think that indicate that someone is overthinking?
Well, there are some warning signs, like obsessive behaviors,
Yeah.
that can be translated through the fact that we get ourselves tired by overthinking. We can find what I call a rest for the soul, or
Yes.
that can also be translated through obsessive behaviors. Like
Mhm.
you have a tendency to do the same thing multiple times, and you realize, well, maybe I'm overdoing something.
Yes.
um, and I also believe one knows himself, or she knows herself, to realize that we might be in some kind of a not very healthy loop. And more than that, I think that, our minds can put us into what I call a cage, but
Yes.
also the outer world. And I'll explain it in simple ways. We live in a world where we're not alone,
Yes.
and our thoughts, I consider them as frequencies.
Yes.
And whenever we tap into a thought, it's like turning a channel on television, but there's also television and other multiple screens that we're engaged with on a daily basis. And I've been realizing, especially in the last 5 years, that whenever you turn into a screen, and let's call it mainstream media,
Yes.
um, the frequencies that you're tuned into are not
Hmm.
very benefiting and beneficial for our existence. Because
Absolutely.
the news, when you watch the news, you want to you want to open a channel, and you want to see people hugging trees, and you want to see people
Yes.
smiling, while in fact we see a lot of things that are related to violence,
Yes.
wars, crisis is coming from every angle of the world, every corner of the world. Wars between,
Yes.
here I live in Israel, so it's the Israeli Palestinians. But just go to not far. You have Russia, Ukraine, and you have North Korea and South Korea and Taiwan and China. And I don't think most of the people would want to live in a state of war, nor know that there is a pandemic that's about to abolish the entire world, or
Yeah.
climate crisis that's going to make the world and coastlines disappear very soon. And basically, what it does to us, these frequencies that we're engaged with,
Hmm.
they bring us into a state of fight or flight.
Yes. Absolutely.
It's a
Agreed.
surviving mechanism that was installed in our body, or we were designed like this. And when you compare what's going on today, we're activated by the fight or flight, even when we get a WhatsApp message, without knowing it, without even knowing
Yes.
what it's going to carry. And that basically state of being gets us managed. It doesn't help us manage our life, it manages our life. And it keeps us in this, a vicious loop, if I can say it.
Absolutely. Yes. Absolutely.
And that also increase other things that are not very good for us, like anxiety,
And
or
cortisol
or or
levels.
or anger.
Absolutely. Or
So
fear.
fear, that's the worst.
Yes.
And for me, we experienced these very sad realities all around us. And I realized that I have to find a way to shut down some of these emotions that came. I call it my dense vibration. I feel like, I'm getting squeezed more and more whenever I go into a fear state of in existence, or even when I'm getting angry.
Hmm.
And I understood that I don't want to continue my life. First of all, it's not good for our health.
Absolutely
It's
not.
very related to our immune system and illnesses.
Yep.
And I think we can live amazingly well here. And I'm sure that there are ways that we can better with ourselves by applying these small practices, just like mentioned earlier, breath
Yes.
work, meditation, grounding, tree hugging.
Yes.
And I realized there is no cost tag attached to it. They're free.
Absolutely. And the sun too. The sun gives you so much energy. And here in California, the sun is out all the time. So it's a lot of energy. But yeah, I love how you said, you get caught
I
on a loop. As a matter of fact, I was caught on a loop yesterday where I was overthinking and I have to do all these things and da 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 da. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to take the day off. I'm going to put my solfeggio scales in my home. I'm going to do breath work and I'm just going to chill. I'm going to do me. And let me tell you, I slept well and my neck was like super tight in the beginning and then as I relaxed my neck and everything on my shoulders, it's almost like I carry the weight of the world on my shoulders, especially when you have empathy, right? It's just like it feels like it's all on your shoulders. So yes, all those practices are amazing. And also like intrusive thoughts, you were talking about that basically, right? Which are when you're in a dense vibrational field, those thoughts are available and they will try to, I curse them out. That's what I do. It's like, listen, I see you, but you gotta go. Okay. Like it's a person and it goes away. And I replace it by a good thought, a high vibrational thought. And it works. So everything you're saying is they're practical things that people can practice and stop being, help themselves and stopping to be in that dense energy of fight or flight. And which I call it the cube, right? Where we live in a 3D in a cube. And so when we're in that cube and we can't see, we're trapped in a thought prison, like you were saying, right? So we have those thought prisons, like, oh, I'm not going to make it. Oh my God, the world is going to, explode anytime. So we got to get out of that by doing everything that you told us, grounding, hug a tree, walk barefoot in the sand or on the grass, and tell those intrusive thoughts to bye bye.
So I want to touch a few things that you even mentioned that
Yes,
basically I can explain you and the audience maybe what you just said, and that's beautiful. So let's talk about the sun.
yes.
As for myself, many years ago, I invested in an eyewear company, and I had like a big collection of sunglasses. While in fact, in the last 18 months, I no longer wear sunglasses. I took off the sunglasses. Just when we were kids, we didn't wear sunglasses unless we wanted to be really really cool. But still,
Yeah.
it's pretty awkward to see an 8-year-old walking with sunglasses. So I've read recently in scientific researches that one of the number one causes for skin cancer is eyewear, is sunglasses.
What?
And it made a lot of sense to me because basically what we do is when we cover our pupils, when we cover our eyes, we're cheating our brains. We're telling the brain now to think that outside is dark. So what does the brain do? It's supposed, to help our body manage into a state which is called the homeostasis, and it's not releasing melanin, if I'm not mistaken, to the
Yeah.
skin. So we got less protection because the brain,
Oh,
now covered with sunglasses, thinks it's dark outside. So you don't need to increase this dosage of hormone, if I'm not mistaken, into one body. And also, what you just said about you needed to take a day off because
yeah.
you were feeling not great. Well, that can be defined in a very simple way. There's a do mode, but there's also a be mode. So basically,
Right.
what you did is you understood that you're now in a do mode. You're active with your day, and you're pursuing different activities, and then you got these thoughts coming. I got to accomplish this, and I got to go there, and then you start like again, looping inside your head. While what you did is okay, I'm gonna pause from my do. I'm gonna move to my be. There's
Yes.
some kind of decompression process that's taking place there. And when you're in a B, you can really turn the volume, with loud music, heavy metal, into, okay, a more Enya kind of music.
Totally. Yes.
For those who know who Enya is. So that's, you did very well. And I'm sometimes I do that when I realize I'm inside of some kind of loop. I say to myself, okay, stop, don't do, be,
Yes.
and try to find the ways to take these dance vibrations and go all the way up to, with your frequencies. Now,
Yes.
there are also other things that I've learned. I've pursued a very interesting spiritual journey in the last 18 years. And, I, not to go there, but I went to search for God.
Of course.
And
I know we all, right?
yes,
Yeah.
yes, and it took me to many places, from esoteric studies to metaphysics, rabbit holes,
Mhm.
many crazy places. But basically, if I can really summarize two things that would help other people have a more joyful journey in their life, is obviously, there is almost a cliche on both things that I've learned. One is that we can manifest our reality. Just like you said, we live in this cube, in this 3D world, while when you really study physics, matter is mostly made out of empty space.
Absolutely. It's all
And
vibrational. It's
it's all
vibrating.
vibration, it's
Yeah,
energy, it's
electricity. Yeah.
energy,
Yeah.
and it's more energy, light, holographic,
Yeah.
and projection in a very unique vibration.
Yes.
So once you understand the essence of the existence, which is energy, then you really look at the world from, just like we spoke, from two different perspectives: the vibration and the frequency. Vibration, I would relate it to our emotional state. The more we're anger, fear, we get dense. But
Yes.
when we are going up in the frequencies towards a loving vibration, it's where
Mhm.
we free ourselves. It's almost like we become bodiless when we're in love with a partner, when we look for those who have children, in our children's eyes. And nature, it almost takes you from a very, caged, dense feeling into, oh, I can now
Yes.
fly. So it's a Jacob's ladder, I call it.
Oh, I love that.
So now we understand that, there's no such thing as matter, and it's
Yeah.
energy, and frequencies are thoughts that we're tuned into. Vibration is our emotional state. So we need to become very aware of what we think. Why?
Absolutely.
Because we can manifest our reality through three simple actions. Again, not that simple, but very simple and free. They say that the creator, God, created the universe with in 3 steps: a thought,
Uh-huh.
speech, and action. And
Yes.
basically, it can be explained in also, from physics side. What is a thought? It's an energy that our brain, it's an electric current that our brain now produces, and it's been, you know, sent into something somewhere.
In the
But what is
quantum
this?
field,
What
right?
is this somewhere? And science now acknowledges the fact that we all lived in what we call the one field.
Right.
And everything is interconnected, and they call it the quantum entanglement.
Yeah.
And even though we're very limited with, with the spectrum that our eyes can provide, what we see in a very narrow spectrum of vision and light, also our hearing, it doesn't mean, because energy never goes away.
Right.
So it's somewhere. And then we use our voice, we
Hmm.
speak. And this thing that is created, the voice, the sound that we make, is a vibration. It's another
Yeah.
vibration. And this vibration also is sent into somewhere. So
Yeah.
again, one should be very minded to his use of the voice. I don't know
Yes.
if there are some Dune fans, Frank Herbert. I don't know if you know, but Paul Atreides. I don't want to spoil if you haven't. The third movie hasn't come out yet. But if you saw the old movies, they will win with the voice. They developed this special weapon called the voice, and also the Jeshurun women there uses this um, secret technique, which is shouldn't be a secret. We need to be very minded to our thoughts, to our speech. Let's switch our words into positive words, because
Yes.
they go into this interconnected one field, and it has an effect. So I'm sure that if we'll be speaking loving words and positive words, we'll have a positive effect. And then act,
Yes.
be one with this, you know, applied positivity, even if it's not something natural that comes to us at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Let's start practicing it, just like we go to a gym. At the beginning it's going to be harder, but the more we practice, the better it gets. The more it becomes our, first nature or second nature of being in this state of consciousness and existence. And so I'm really inviting people, look at the sun. It's okay. Sometimes when you understand that you're in this loop of doing, and you feel that something is not just right, stop, be, breathe,
Yes.
think, think positive, speak positive, do acts of kindness,
Yes.
because it's so rewarding when we help somebody else. It immediately comes back to us.
100%. We're here. I always say here that we're here to love and help others. And by doing that, we love and help ourselves because we're all one, right? We're a mirror of
We're
each
all
other.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the second thing that I've learned when I search for God. So basically, I you don't know, but I grew up in a very atheist family,
Okay.
and and very pro peace in Israel. My father, both my parents passed away, but my father was a Holocaust survivor, and my mom,
Oh,
he was
wow.
orphaned at a very young age, and 20 years old, with no brother and sisters. So she didn't have anyone. They told me there's no God. How can be God if he
Yeah.
was that cruel in
Understandable.
in their own experience of life? And when I realized there's something greater than my ego, a
Yes.
God, yes, and I went looking for it. Then I told myself, after a lot of searching and asking and learning, if now I would need to tell somebody who's not a believer, somebody like me, let's say 23 years ago, what is God? What is the creator? Doesn't really
Mhm.
matter. And it immediately came to my mind that basically I can describe it in two words. The first word is one, just like you said, and the second word is love.
Yes. I got goosebumps. Yes. And
And
when
it's
we
an
love
energy
energy, I was just going to say, I saw like an experiment, like the electromagnetic field gets
of
bigger
our heart.
when we're in our higher self, which I believe that's our God inside us, right? Which connects to the quantum field
The
when
temple.
we're all
We are a
one.
temple. Yes, we
We
are a
are,
temple.
well, yeah,
And
absolutely.
and and,
The
and just
temple.
like you said, our hearts. Oh, I love this conversation because you take me to the places where I feel so comfortable and people get me. So our heart. In fact, you know what's our heart? You know what
What is
happens
it?
when you look at a heart, and when you take a heart out of the body. Let's not do it, and let's not see it. But
Yeah.
it's a coil. It's a coil. It really looks like a spring, and just like you said, it's an electric
Yes.
reactor factory power plant, and
Mm-hmm.
that once you learn how to work with your heart, it also have brain cells, memory cells on it, and it can, just like you said, it can send an huge field that can basically attract everything that we want to have in our life when we know
Uh-huh.
how to connect to our hearts. But this
Yes.
is going even, it can take our conversation into an even deeper levels of understanding basically the energetic centers that we have in our body.
Yes.
Chakras is the Hindus call them.
Yes.
And again, the Jacob's ladder or the tree of life. I mean, there's so many ways to to try and understand this, but it all basically, when you study different philosophies or different practices, you realize they all speak about the same things.
Yes.
In the Kabbalah, you have the tree of life, which is
Yes.
very similar to the chakra centers,
Yep.
and the Kundalini, which is the spinal fluids that actually goes all the way from the root to what we call, it has the energy centers, the chakras that it pass through from the root to the that solar plexus and heart and thyroid, and then we have here an amazing. This is magic. I don't know
Yes.
if you know, but inside our brains we have an organ, a small organ, which has a very unique name in English, but it's not really English. It's called the pineal gland.
Absolutely. Yes. I know. I'm
You
familiar
know
with
what
that.
is pineal gland
Yes.
in Hebrew?
No,
In
what is it?
Hebrew, pineal gland is basically two words. Pnei el. Pnei el is face of God.
Ah,
And
wow.
yeah, I now got goosebumps as well.
I know, me too.
And when you study the stories in the Bible, for example, when
Yes.
there's the story of Jacob and the alien or the demigod or the god that he had to fight with, the place that this fight took place is called Pniel. It's the Yavok passage. This is where Jacob met this deity, this angelic being, had a fight with him, staying
Mhm.
overnight and basically not losing to him. And this is where he was given the name Israel. Israel. So this is my 18 years of like looking everywhere. It
Wow.
all connects into this beautiful story, and the pineal gland is basically, it's a gateway. According
Yes.
to Kabbalah, it's the entry point to the soul to enter the body while we're
Yes.
born or
Yes.
a bit before, and also when we die. This is the portal that is where we go out.
Yes.
And it's in charge of releasing a very unique molecule. Let's talk a little bit about molecules.
Yes.
In our body, we have a molecule called DMT,
I heard about that. What is that?
dimethyltryptamine.
Okay.
If you go and try to have some kind of a shamanic ceremony, for example, in South America, and there's like these ceremonies called ayahuasca,
Yes.
they basically mix two ingredients. One is extracted DMT, and the other one is a vine that would in keeps the DMT floating in our body, because we need to have this prolonged experience. But basically, it takes us into a higher state of consciousness. DMT is an exogenic molecule. Our body produces it in very small dosage, especially when we dream. So
Oh,
maybe, are we drifting? Are we moving into different realities?
I was just talking to ChatGPT about that because I feel like when I dream, I meet people that I know, and I think I meet in other dimensions in the quantum field, like my soul is
Mm-hmm.
traveling
Mm-hmm.
and I am
Mm-hmm.
trying to
Astral
resolve.
projecting, yeah.
Absolutely. I feel like I'm trying to resolve issues with some
Yes.
people. Some people are willing to do that, and some
Mm-hmm.
people are not willing to do
Mm-hmm.
that, even in the
Mm-hmm.
other dimension. But I know that I'm trying. And also, people that have passed, I've had experiences where people pass away, and I know exactly that they passed away. At that moment, they come to me, they communicate. That's not a dream. But in dreams, I've had my father appear to me and be concerned about something in my life. And I got really scared. And I'm like, this was years ago. And I'm like, no, 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 no. He was coming to hug me. I was like, no, 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 don't come to hug me. You're dead. And then he never contacted me again. How can you be mean to a ghost, to a spirit that's trying to communicate to you? But it scared me because it was so real, Nimrod. It was like my dad was there talking to me. And so that
He
cannot
was
be your
probably
mind.
there. He was probably there. And
He was
let
there.
me close the loop. We
Yes.
started this conversation when you asked me, what do I do in order to, get out of an overthinking situation?
Yes.
And I told you I do breath work. But in fact, when you learn how to breathe, you improve your breathing techniques, and you apply better skills on breathing and meditating.
Mm-hmm.
What you do is you increase the level of DMT in your body,
Ah,
and that activates the pineal gland. And the pineal gland is like these small crystals, small sandish crystals. It's the only organ in the brain that is not divided to the two hemispheres. Some call it the third eye.
yes,
And when we activate it, basically it's just like turning an antenna
absolutely.
even more powerful on, and then it helps us connect to the field. Now, what is in the field? In the field, according to Hindus or Kabbalistic Jewish practitioners, there is, in Hinduism they call it the Akashic records,
Yes,
and
yes.
and in Kabbalah they call it Reshimu. Reshimu is a free translation in English to registry. So
Oh,
it's every thought that we think. Again, remember we spoke about thinking
yes.
is sent into this one field and is getting it's indexed in these libraries, the Akashic records or the Rishimut. It's coming from different philosophies talk about the same
Mhm.
thing. How crazy is that? Just like you have these hieroglyphs or these cave paintings in two different places around the world where flying was not
Yeah, I
there, the
know. Yeah,
technology was not there, but you see the
yeah.
same paintings everywhere, and one would ask yourself, how did they manage to do this,
Hmm.
communication between these very distant spaces?
Absolutely. And I feel like sometimes we connect to the Akashic records, and that's how people get the same idea at the same time,
Hmm. Hmm.
right? Is that
It's not. It's we connect through the field. Basically,
yes,
it's basically when we're tuned into similar frequencies, we can really connect to to the same, even level plane level, that basically sometimes you don't need to speak and
yes.
maybe they say that the more we're going to be evolved, the less we're going to speak because we're going to be applying telepathy.
Absolutely. I
And
was just talking to someone about that. I was like, I think
no
in a few years
coincidence.
it's going to be just telepathy. We're not, and I am already in that. Like I think about something or someone, they text me immediately, like as the moment I'm thinking, or just somebody comes to my brain. I'm like, oh, I emailed them that, and I wonder, email. you know, it's just we are. I think some of us are already doing that because we have freed ourselves. We learned how to free ourselves of the cube, and we live in the cube, so we have to know how to live here
Hmm.
and pay our
Hmm.
bills.
Hmm.
But I feel like a lot of us have um, just found the key to the magic and the power that we humans have, that has been suppressed by religions and governments, and
Don't take me there, Grace. Don't
oh, I
take
know,
me
I know, I know.
there.
I'm going to say it.
I'm
Listen, I'm going to say
zipping.
it. I can talk about it because I grew up in a military dictatorship in Argentina, so I can say
Yes. Um,
yes. But yeah, that's another
and I woke
conversation.
up during the pandemic, and I'm not gonna go there because for me it was like a really, a school for fast learning. That
Yes,
everything that's going on right now in the world is
yes,
pretty crazy, and my
yes.
mind can compromise with logic for many things. But I call it the rabbit holes, and I managed to escape them.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
the cube that you call, I call it the matrix. It's
Yeah, it's the
basically
same thing. Yeah,
it's
yeah,
but one of the things that I've learned when I spent like reading about reptilians and other crazy things that people call conspiracies or not, but
yeah.
they're very present when you read the Bible. Who was the serpent
Yes,
and who were the Nephilim, and some in other places, the Nephilim are called the Anunnakis, and like then you start seeing
Yes.
other things of how man was created, anesthetics, because he fell asleep. He opened his rib cage, then he created a partner. Then I see this cloning in
Cloning,
front of me,
absolutely.
these are narratives, these are stories, and I've learned to understand it again because these are stories that can drive us crazy, right? People who are not,
Absolutely.
who has been taught that the world works the way it works, and now when they start expanding their understanding about the world and consciousness, it with many doesn't do good. It can drive
Absolutely.
people really go bananas.
Absolutely.
But if you go into the spiritual side of life,
Yes.
and that's where I've been. I've realized two things that are very important that helps me have a more joyful day to day. One, it's all stories. They're narratives, okay,
Yes.
that we create because
Yes.
we manifest our reality, and we
Yes.
have no enemies. The only enemy that we have is the reflection in the mirror. And just like Michael Jackson says, I'm looking at the man in the mirror. I'm asking
Mhm.
him to change his way. It's a beautiful song.
Yes.
Because I cannot change anyone else. I don't have an army.
Who wants to do that anyway?
I'm not very rich. The only one I can change is myself.
Absolutely.
So let's start with this. And I know it might sound as a cliche. Um, and second thing that I've realized is that when you really go into spiritual studies, one of the things that you understand is what is dualism,
Yeah.
because basically they the smart ancient ones say we agreed to reincarnate in a universe where dualism
Yeah.
is a part of the program.
Yeah.
So it's like when you think about the creation of the world, we minimized a lot of light into a singular point. Darkness comes, and then we press the enter. Existence came,
There you go.
and then you have a universe in an inflation mode, and then you experience matter, and then you experience myself, the ego, Nimrod Avraham, grace, our friends. They're all like, but everything is interconnected.
Absolutely.
Um, and in this journey, in this experience, what does dualism mean? And this is, it's hard to understand that there is no light without darkness, that there is no love without hate, that there is no truth without lies. And the positive and the negative. And basically for the source, the creator, to expand in an infinite exponential way,
Mhm.
we need a dualism to find the light through the darkness, to have this process of ascension, of bettering with ourselves, of applying a more happy life to us. And we find it through darkness. We agreed on it.
Absolutely.
And I understand the logic, because if everything was great, what would we learn? It's going to be boring. So we
Yeah.
agreed to be caught up in a temple,
Yeah.
very dense, experiencing these fear vibrations and frequencies that are not bettering with ourselves, just to try and find these different remedies and practices that will help us have an amazing great day. And
Yes.
here we are having this conversation, which is not a coincidence, because I guess
Mhm.
you and I, we have the same shared purpose on helping others to have a better experience. So thank you for
Thank
having me
you.
here.
Thank you so much. Your insights really illuminated the path to mental freedom and releasing ourselves from the confines of overthinking, which is the ego, right? So as we conclude, and we went over a little bit the 30 minutes, but I want to have you back on another conversation because I feel like we're twins at this point. It's like we're totally twinning. And
Well,
as
we are one.
we are one, exactly. But it's finding, I was saying that to a friend the other day. After my cancer healing journey from 2021 to 2022, I'm cancer free. I was stage 3, blah, 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 all that. People know, my subscribers know. I feel like I have freed myself and fully learned to lead a joyful life. And like you said, it's through the darkness that we find the light. And so I would love to have you back and talk about
My
how did you.
honor.
Yeah, that would be amazing. You are fascinating. We're on the same page. I love it. I've done some research. You added more to my knowledge and to the audience's knowledge and to their joy. So I appreciate that so much. And thank you for being here. And definitely we'll see you soon.
Thank you so much. And always remember, love is the solution.
Yes.
And we need more and more kindness and compassion now
Yes.
applied in our lives. And so I'm inviting any viewer of your amazing show to start really thinking on where he can or she can apply more of these very needed values on a day-to-day basis.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And
Thank you.
I'll have you back.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Namaste.
Are you ready to unlock your body's incredible power to heal itself? Discover the transformative journey in Healing from Within. In this powerful guide, I share my personal healing stories and the science behind the mind-body connection. With simple techniques like focusing on emotions, Healing from Within will guide you to tap into your own healing potential. This is your time to transform inside and out. Whether you're healing physically, emotionally, or mentally, Healing from Within will give you the tools you need to sustain a healing practice and embrace your journey. Healing from Within, available now at www.thestateofgraceshop.com. Visit www.thestateofgraceshop and start your healing journey today. Every moment is a chance to inspire, uplift, and thrive. What better way to start your day than with a mug that's more than just a mug? It's your muse. Sip your coffee, tea, or hot cocoa while sipping on some self-love with positive affirmations mugs for you. Your hat isn't just an accessory. It's your daily reminder to shine bright and vibe high. With our positive affirmations headwear for you, every step you take spreads love, joy, and confidence. From self-love is your superpower to dream big and create your own story, our mugs and headwear remind you to keep thriving one positive affirmation at a time. Your vibe attracts your tribe. So let your mug and your muse inspire the world. Positive affirmations, mugs, and headwear for you. Start your journey of positivity today because you're worth it. Always.